Urban legends have been around for centuries and they continue to captivate and intrigue us to this day. These stories are often passed down from generation to generation, with each retelling adding its own unique twist to the tale. Some of these stories are downright creepy, leaving us with goosebumps long after the story has ended. Here are 5 of the creepiest urban legends that continue to give us the chills. Number 5. The Black-Eyed Children. The legend of the Black-Eyed Children is one of the most mysterious and chilling urban legends out there. According to the story, these children, who are typically between the ages of 6 and 16, have completely black eyes with no discernible iris or pupil. They are said to approach people in pairs, asking to be let into their homes or vehicles. Those who have encountered the black-eyed children report feeling an overwhelming sense of fear and dread, with some even claiming that the children had the ability to control their thoughts and actions. One of the most terrifying aspects of this urban legend is the lack of explanation for the black eyes. Some believe that the children are demonic or alien in nature, while others suggest that they may be the ghosts of children who died in tragic circumstances. The legend first gained popularity in the late 90s, when reports of encounters with the black-eyed children began to circulate online. One of the most famous accounts of an encounter with the black-eyed children comes from Brian Bethel, a journalist who claims to have had a run-in with the creepy kids in 1996. According to Bethel, he was sitting in his car in a parking lot when he was approached by 2 young boys. They asked for a ride home. Bethel was initially willing to help them, but as he looked closer at their eyes, he felt a deep sense of fear and unease. He quickly drove away and reported the incident to the police, who found no evidence of the children. Some people believe that the legend may have been inspired by reports of the Mothman, a creature that was said to have been spotted in West Virginia in the 1960s. The Mothman was described as a tall, dark figure with glowing red eyes, and some suggest that the black-eyed children may be a modern version of this legend. Whether or not you believe in the existence of the black-eyed children, there's no denying that this urban legend is a chilling and intriguing tale that will leave you looking over your shoulder. Just be sure to keep an eye out for any children with dark eyes who might be lurking in the shadows. Number 4. The Babysitter and the Man Inside the House. The story of the babysitter is a classic urban legend that's been around for decades. According to the tale, a babysitter is left alone in a house with sleeping children when she begins to receive mysterious phone calls from a stranger who asks her if she's checked on the children. The caller becomes increasingly insistent, and eventually the babysitter becomes frightened enough to call the police. When the police trace the call, they tell the babysitter that the call is coming from inside the house. Terrified, the babysitter rushes upstairs to check on the children, only to find that the man who had been calling her is actually inside the house and has been watching her the whole time. Whilst the story may seem far-fetched, it's actually based on a real-life incident that occurred in 1950. In that case, the babysitter, named Janet Chrisman, was murdered by a man who had been watching her through the window of the house where she was babysitting. The story has since been embellished and exaggerated over the years, with various versions of the tale featuring different endings and twists. One of the most famous versions of the story is the 1979 horror film When a Stranger Calls. This follows a babysitter who receives a series of mysterious phone calls from a stranger who is watching her every move. Number 3. The Vanishing Hitchhiker. The legend of the Vanishing Hitchhiker is one that's been passed down through generations and can be found all across the globe in one form or another. The story typically goes like this. A driver picks up a hitchhiker on a dark and lonely road. The hitchhiker seems normal at first, but as they drive, they begin to act strangely. Eventually, the driver reaches the hitchhiker's destination, only to find that they have vanished from the car without a trace. One of the earliest recorded versions of the story dates back to the 19th century and involves a man who picks up a young woman on his way home from church. The woman asks to be dropped off at a nearby cemetery, but disappears from the vehicle before they arrive. Over the years, the vanishing hitchhiker legend has become a cultural phenomenon, with stories of hitchhikers disappearing from cars being reported all over the world. Some believe that the legend may have originated as a cautionary tale to discourage people from picking up hitchhikers who were seen as dangerous and untrustworthy. One of the most famous retellings of the legend comes from author Jan Harold Brunvard, who included the story in his book The Vanishing Hitchhiker, America's Urban Legends and Their Meanings. Brunvard collected hundreds of different versions of the legend from around the world and analysed the cultural and psychological factors that made the story so compelling. Whether you believe the legend of the vanishing hitchhiker or not, there's no denying that it's a creepy and intriguing tale that has captured the imaginations of people for generations. So the next time you're driving down a dark and lonely road, be sure to keep an eye out for any hitchhikers who might disappear before your very eyes. You never know what might be waiting just beyond your headlights. Number 2. The Haunted Doll. The legend of the haunted doll is a spooky tale that has captured the imaginations of people around the world. The story goes like this. A child receives a new doll as a gift, only to discover that the doll is haunted by a vengeful spirit. The doll is said to move on its own, speak in a creepy voice, and even cause harm to those who cross its path. One of the most famous examples of a haunted doll is the story of Annabelle. A young nursing student received the doll from her mother as a gift, but strange things began to happen soon after, with the doll moving on its own and leaving creepy messages on scraps of paper. Eventually, the student called in Ed and Lorraine Warren, paranormal investigators, who determined that the doll was possessed by the spirit of a young girl who had died in the apartment complex where the student lived. The doll was eventually placed in a special case and is now on display at the Warren Occult Museum. The legend of the haunted doll has been the subject of countless movies, TV shows and books, with each retelling adding its own unique twist to the tale. Some believe that the legend may have originated as a cautionary tale to warn children about the dangers of playing with toys that they don't fully understand. Whatever the case may be, there's no denying that the story of the haunted doll is a spine-tingling tale that will send shivers down your back. So the next time you're browsing the toy aisle at your local store, be sure to keep an eye out for any dolls that might be giving you a creepy stare. Number 1. SLENDERMAN. SLENDERMAN is probably the youngest urban legend on our list. It first gained popularity on the internet in the early 2010s. The story of SLENDERMAN goes like this. A tall, thin figure with no face and long, spindly arms terrorizes children and adults alike, often leading them to their deaths or driving them insane. The legend of SLENDERMAN originated in the internet forum Something Awful in 2009, where users were challenged to create creepy photoshopped images. One user, Eric Knudsen, created an image of a tall, thin figure with no face, long spindly arms, and dubbed it SLENDERMAN. The image quickly gained popularity and soon other users began creating their own SLENDERMAN stories and artworks. Over time, the legend of SLENDERMAN began to spread beyond the internet into popular culture. The character has been featured in video games, movies, TV shows, and even real-life crimes. In 2014, 2 teenage girls in Wisconsin stabbed a classmate in an attempt to please SLENDERMAN, and in 2018, a man in Ohio attacked his family while under the influence of SLENDERMAN-related content. Despite the gruesome real-life incidents associated with SLENDERMAN, the character remains a popular and fascinating urban legend that continues to capture the imaginations of people around the world. Some believe that the legend of SLENDERMAN may have originated as a way for people to cope with the unknown and the inexplicable, while others see it as a cautionary tale about the dangers of the internet and social media. Whatever the case may be, there's no denying that the legend of SLENDERMAN is a creepy and intriguing tale that has left a lasting impact on popular culture. So the next time you're walking alone at night, be sure to keep an eye out for any tall, thin figures with no faces and long, spindly arms. While these urban legends may give us goosebumps and keep us up at night, their entertainment value keeps us coming back for more. Whether we're gathered around a campfire or scrolling through Reddit, these stories have a way of capturing our attention and sending shivers down our spines. So, the next time you're in the mood for a good scare, take a deep breath, turn down the lights, and dive into one of these creepy urban legends. Just be sure to keep a flashlight handy.